Hello, everyone, and welcome to our very first episode of When Girls Talk Books. I'm Kylie.
I'm Susie, and we're going to be going over all books here. So if you are a book lover, this is the right place for you. We're going to be going into romance, thrillers, mystery, small authors, you name it. We want to read about it, and we're going to, most of all, talk about it. That's what we're best at.
Yes, we do talk a lot, but that's what we're here for. So if you guys have any suggestions, feel free to leave them down below or send us a message on Instagram because we are looking for different recommendations and maybe there's something that you love that we don't know about. So
if you're an author and you want somebody to read your book, hit us up.
Yeah. We do want to focus on small authors. We do have a couple kind of already in line, but we are always looking for new suggestions. Okay, so this episode we decided to cover Archer's Voice, and this was definitely one that I do think Book Talk, BookTube, all of the book
sites. All of the sites, all the places, all the people. What we're getting at is everyone hyped it up appropriately.
Yeah.
Because, usually these books will either be all sad or all spicy or all thrilling. And this one, actually, you were like, oh my God, I was crying and then going all at the same time. So, for sure. Agreed.
I definitely felt like it gave you enough to care, but, the whole thing wasn't just catastrophically sad or the whole thing is smut and there's actually no plot line whatsoever.
Yep.
So I felt like it was a really good in between. And then it also kind of built up to those things. It wasn't just right away instant love. They're the best thing that they've ever seen. A little bit, but nothing
Major.
too extreme.
I liked the amount of awkwardness in the book. This book actually put a lot of actual awkwardness in it. Maybe that's why I could relate to it so well.
Okay. Do you want to do a brief summary?
Yeah, so it's definitely a love story, but kind of a mystery, and there's some thrilling moments. So I guess you could call it a thriller, but it's mostly a love story about two people with their own wounds that kind of come together and have to find themselves to come back and find each other. And then there's two pieces of shit all mixed in there in the meantime trying to ruin their love story. And as they say, it helps him find his voice. And I didn't understand what that meant when I first started this book, and then by the end I'm just like So that's the brief summary on Archer's Voice.
So it starts out with immediately is Archer, and he's a little boy, and he's playing, and his uncle comes in, and he's talking with him, and hey, bud, how's it going? And then he goes and talks to Archer's mom, and she's essentially telling him, can you get us out of here?
Which immediately, we're reading that part, and I'm like, uh-oh, it's going to be one of those books.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So that's immediately what you get, but then you don't really know who Archer is or anything about that, but it gives you a little bit of preference.
And it was confusing, because when it starts the book from his perspective as a child, I thought this book's going to be about a kid. You know what I mean? Because I came into this semi-blind. I didn't really look anything up about it. I was just picked it up. Here we go. And so
I knew it was a romance, so I'm like, if it's a 7, that's I don't know.
I'm like, he's got to get older eventually, right?
Yeah. So the story is about Archer and Bree, and Archer is the little boy who then grows up, obviously. And then Bree comes to
Bree
town.
is a young woman, who is kind of looking for, I'll call it a fresh start, or not even that, just needed a break from her. She had been through her own traumas and loss, was suffering some really major grief that, she didn't even realize that Archer could relate to.
Yeah.
And I think that's what helped them bond a little bit. And Archer, throughout the story, is really just the misunderstood recluse of the town is the best way to describe it.
Just horrifically secluded, really.
Isolated, that's the word we were.
Yeah. So Bree essentially takes off with her dog, Phoebe, and she finds this town. She's renting a cabin. The neighbor, Anne, is really nice to her.
Anne.
Yeah, she's sweet.
I love Anne.
Just this sweet old lady. And one of the things she has to do once she gets into town is she goes to the grocery store and she gets 1,000 Almond Joys, which I did enjoy that part. And some tampons and stuff like that. And
only the essentials, clearly.
Yeah. She comes out of the store and her bag breaks or she drops it or something, and it all just goes everywhere.
Yep.
which is like your worst nightmare.
It's like that has happened to me in my apartment complex. Not that same thing, but I live on the 3rd floor, and I was trying to carry things up, and the bag handles ripped, and just all my stuff went flying. And I was like, first of all, this was healthy me grocery shopping. I didn't even want all this shit, and now it's all over the place, and my neighbors can see me, and like I really just wanted to leave it.
You're like,
so I can't imagine how she felt
anymore.
being new, uncomfortable, and that happening.
Yeah.
And then Archer just shows up.
Yeah. So
This
then
is where
she
we
meets
meet Archer for the second time as
and
an
he
adult.
like starts grabbing the stuff and handing it to her, and she's just like
Oh,
word vomit, like you've never. I wasn't even gonna eat all these almond joys. I was just gonna
stock it up for winter.
Yeah, maybe I would have. And she's like, secretly, I was planning on eating 4 of these on the way home.
Yep.
And that kind of comes back later on, like nobody's ever felt like uncomfortable, like embarrassed around him because everybody's just kind of passed him by for so long, where that was a moment that he kind of, there was something different about her to be embarrassed in front of him. Yeah.
Most people thought they were above him anyway.
Yeah, but he never says anything to her. He
Nope.
just like hands them to her, and she's like, "You could say anything at any
Like,
point
that'd
to
be
put
great.
me out of my misery." And then he walks away.
And she's like, cool.
Yeah, that's great. And then after that, the next morning is when you first see that she's actually dealing with some sort of trauma because she has her nightmare and is like, she vomits, she like shakes. It's
severe PTSD, picking up on a lot of that, and
Yeah.
just how they didn't give you very much at a time.
Yeah, but you don't really know why. You just know like it's raining, there's blood, something happened, something horrific happened, and then that's basically it for as much as you know there. And then Anne tells her that the diner is hiring if she's looking for a job.
Her new neighbor, she said something about like, I'll put in a good word for her. I know the owners, they're good people, something like that.
Yeah, because it's a really small town. So she goes and she gets a job and she meets Travis.
Travis.
Who is on his way to be sheriff.
My only note about Travis is Travis equals tool.
Fair. Yeah. There was something about him. Anyway, even at the end, I was like, I don't like you.
I don't even care. Yeah,
Yeah.
It was hard for me to forgive anything. I don't care that he did the right thing. Like, no, you're bad. Bad person.
Weird.
Weird vibes.
Yeah, so she meets Travis, and he's, like, putting the moves on her, and is
He's
like,
the
I can show
classic
you
big
around.
fish, small pond
Yeah.
sheriff. Like, I'm so great.
I can show you around if you need.
No, thank you.
And she's like, okay.
Yeah, it's going to be a no for me, dog.
Yeah. So they meet for the first time there, and then she decides to see if she can get to the river one day after work or the lake, whatever it is.
Goes on her bike ride.
Goes on her bike ride, and her dog ends up taking off.
Which is her neighbor's bike, too. Forgot. Super
Yeah.
cute that neighbor Ann was like, here, I'm not using it, honey.
Yeah.
Like, oh.
She was sweet. But the dog takes off into somebody's yard, and the gates open, and it
My
ends
worst
up being
nightmare.
Archer. And he is not very welcoming. And she,
No.
again, is like word vomit.
Yeah, like, of course this has to happen to me again and to the same person.
Yeah. And I think at this point she knows he doesn't talk.
Yeah, somebody in town had
Travis.
been mentioning... Yep, of course, because Travis likes to set things up
Yeah.
because he can't help himself.
Yeah.
He wanted to make himself look great and Archer look as weird as possible.
Yeah. So at this point she knows that he can't talk, but she assumes that he's deaf.
Yep, everybody
And that's
in town
why.
assumes that he's deaf.
Yeah. But she meets him, and he...
I always picture her being like, hi, my name is Bree.
Hey, what's up? How's it going? Just
stop
getting my
bullying
dog.
now.
Yeah. But he's like not very welcoming, and then he ends up getting a notepad and is like writing down
Which was so sweet.
because she thinks that he's deaf, and he's like, who told you I was deaf?
Yeah,
And
like,
then-
I can hear you.
yeah, he's like, I can hear you. And he's like really working on his sarcasm with her. And she's like, are you trying to be funny right now?
Yeah, that's their phrase. Are you being funny?
Yeah. Because
Archer Hale, are you being funny?
he says something like, no, I'm just practicing my penmanship. Or something like that. And she's like, is that a joke?
Yep,
And
it's like his humor is super dry. And
Yeah.
so- yep.
That's kind of our first, like,
Like, little hint that he does have a personality.
yeah. She ends up saying, like, we can be friends, yada, yada, yada. And he's essentially like, I'm not really interested.
Yep.
And she's like, no? You don't want to.
Okay.
You don't want to get pizza, okay?
Yeah, it was pizza and beer sometime,
Yeah.
and it was no. I would have just never tried to make friends again after
We
that.
would have literally never spoken again.
Yep.
Like,
I would have
don't
moved
know how
that
you
night,
recover.
like broke the lease.
Cool.
This is not the fresh start after all. Next.
Yeah, I actually can't talk to anybody else in this town now because everybody hates me.
Everybody
That's immediately
knows.
where my mind would go. So they meet there, and then we get a flashback, and we find out that some accident had happened, and all of a sudden Archer can't speak, and he's asking where his mom is, and he's in the hospital.
So tragic.
And his Uncle Nathan is there, and then he's like, where's
And from
my mom?
what I was, so Uncle Nathan is on his mom's side. That was like his mom's brother?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And he's a little bit of a nutty guy. Means well, is super nice.
But is always prepared for the government to shut down, the world to end. I'm sorry, Cousin Alan, but gave me very My Cousin Alan vibes. Like, if the world was ending, you would be glad that they're on your side.
Yeah.
But you always feel like, I wish I could understand your sense of urgency so much.
If the world is
Sorry,
ending,
Cousin Alan.
I'm not making it. Like, let's just all be real. I'm not going to make it. Or I would thrive.
Yeah.
It's one. I'm
No in
either
between.
gone immediately or I'm lasting this entire thing.
Agreed.
No in between there. Anyhow.
Depends on if we get our family compound finished in time. But back to the book. Yeah, sorry. So the uncle is a doomsday prepper, raises poor, hurt, now silenced Archer.
So then we also see after that, she meets some friends in town through Anne.
If I remember it, like they were really forward customers. I remember thinking, reading in the book, like if somebody tried to be friends with me that hard, I would assume like they were working with a pimp and I was gonna get like sold into trafficking. Like, why are you being so nice to me?
Is this
But instead, she's like, yeah, sure, I'll go to dinner with these girls I barely know. Like,
small
sure.
town?
And I'm
Small
like,
town.
okay, awfully brave.
That'd be my scenario if anyone tried to talk to me. What do you want?
Yep.
What do you want from me? So she meets them, which is great. And then she's at the grocery store, and she only brings so much cash because she's not working. And so she kind of has to budget, and she only brings so much cash. She doesn't have enough.
She's a little bit short.
She's a little short.
Just... I was reading it from a book, and I was, like, freaking out as if it was happening to me. Yeah.
And Archer ends
Lo
up
and
covering
behold.
it. And it's so sweet. And then they're in the parking lot, and then he signs Goodnight, Bree, and it just, like, makes her world. She's like,
Dear diary, we are in love.
it has finally happened.
Yep.
He told me good night.
And what are the odds that she can sign? That was pretty cool.
Yeah, so her dad was deaf, and so she can actually sign
Fluently.
and communicate with him. And I think that's really cool. And there's a line in there where because Archer ended up teaching himself sign language. And she had said something about how sad it is for someone to teach themselves a language and still nobody talks to them. And I was like,
That's it.
cut it.
Yeah.
Cut it. Oh, I can't even imagine. Like, the loneliness. The loneliness is just horrific. And then we get another flashback of Travis essentially saying how big of a freak that Archer is, because he's like
Completely forgot about, yeah.
walking by. And
He was
he's, like,
just being a
creeping
normal...
in bushes,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah.
I wanted to reach through the book and just...
Yeah. And then Archer and Travis are cousins. So, like, the dynamic there has never been good. Like, Travis has never been nice to Archer. And I think that's the first time you really see, like, oh, Travis is horrible.
He's been horrible from the start.
Yeah, you're just a mean person.
You're a bully. You've always had the upper hand and taken full advantage of it, and you're just gross.
Yeah. And that's really sad. Like, Archer quite literally has nobody. His whole family is not around. His Uncle Nathan even died. And
now
he has one person, essentially. Well, I guess two, in a way. Mm-hmm. But even he's horrific to him.
Yep.
And I hate that. Yeah. I really just don't like Travis.
No, me neither.
Even through the whole thing, and never liked him. We have that, and then she goes back. She does a lot of bike rides.
And she has a car. That's
yeah.
I'm lazy, I guess.
It's a little stalkerish, kind of a little bit. She really likes to drive by his house. Mm-hmm. And one day the gate is open, so she goes in. and he says, I want to show you something. And his dog, Kitty, had puppies.
So sweet.
And they kind of have a moment of, essentially, if the gate is open, you can come in. So this is like
a friendship
him,
is born.
Yeah, this is his entry. He's like, if the gate's open, you can come in. And she's like, okay.
Perfect.
Yeah. And so they've definitely at this point started to form a relationship, whether he really wanted to or not. Bree is definitely weaseled her way in.
No, we didn't do that on purpose or plan that. That just perfectly happened.
So Travis and Bree go on a date.
Cringe.
That happens next. And this is something I never got over, ever, through the entire thing. Again, I will say this.
Through the whole book.
Till I'm blue in the face. I don't care what Travis did in the end. I don't like him, and I didn't trust him.
All right.
This is a series, so if he ends up becoming a good guy...
This is a series?
Sorry. I'm pretty sure it's like companion novels.
Oh.
Don't quote me on that. No, now you have me second guessing it. But I'm pretty sure
excited.
it is.
Oh, that'd be cool. If so. Allegedly.
They go on the date. It's fine. Whatever. They go back, and he's like kissing her and kind of feeling her up. And she says, the last time a man had looked at me with lust in his eyes had been the most traumatic moment of my life. And she needed to take baby steps there. And she says, something feels off. I was like, nope, something's off. And I never let that go throughout the entire
intuition.
thing. I'm like, nope, something's off. So I specifically marked that page because I never let that go.
And the way that date went in the book, I feel like every woman has been on that date where you're like, wow, I am definitely number 744. Like, you've got this down to a science here. It was just so nothing special or thought out for her. It was very generic. Just like, okay, now I pick you up. Now we go here. Mm-hmm. Now we make out. Like, it was just gross.
Yeah. And at this point, she likes Archer. Mm-hmm. So she kind of did it out of obligation of he's trying to be nice. And he was tracked her down because she wouldn't answer the phone. So he like showed up and she's like, oh, are you stalking me? Or...
And being the new girl in town, don't really want to ruffle the feathers of the only cops in town.
Yeah.
So.
But she already has feelings for Archer at that point. So this wasn't really ever going to go anywhere. And then Bree's on her way back over to Archer's house, and she gets caught in a net. And freaks
I was so
out.
confused when that first started happening. I was like, Archer's a serial killer? Like, that's where I thought this book was going. And I was like, wow, okay.
So the net is from his uncle, who thought that the government was out to get everybody and would set these nets in the woods
I feel like this
to
is
catch
something you
people.
have to watch out for at my mom's house.
Oh, gosh. So she gets, like, caught in a net, and she's, like, screaming and crying, and then Archer hears it and comes and runs and gets her out of it, and she's just, like, a complete
feral
mess. Yeah. And so this kind of is the beginning of them kind of communicating what had happened to both of them.
That's true, because she was just hysterically cried, like, forever, too.
Yeah.
Until, she passed out? Something like that?
I think, yeah, she fell asleep at some point. And then she tells Archer essentially what had happened, and somebody came into the deli shop, and the dad owed money, right?
So the person he was at the register, and something was locked. He couldn't hear him asking for the money.
Yeah.
And then he was shot.
Right in front of her.
Yep.
And then the guy
was going to assault her.
Was
that when the cops
but
just in time?
Yeah. But so she essentially saw her dad get murdered and then was assaulted, and they ended up having to sell the deli to pay for funeral expenses.
And just talk about a tragic turn of events. I mean, just one night totally flipped her whole life around.
Yeah, and she was really close with her dad. So she ends up confessing all of that to him.
Can you imagine unloading that to someone you barely know and, like, helped you clean up your embarrassing, like, spill on the street? Just like, okay, so, by the way.
There's no way.
Thanks for listening to me hysterically cry. Also.
Yeah. I'm like, I've known you for 7 years. I've known you longer than that. But it's like, I've known you my whole life. Maybe we can talk about things.
Yeah, maybe now we'll go ahead and give it a try.
I really don't want to be a bother. I'll just keep it in.
Yeah, if you like, if it's too weird, I mean, you can like, at any time, we can like.
We can just cut our losses here.
Yeah, this is a mistake. I should just go.
I'm like, I don't really like that. Never mind. Never mind.
My opinion isn't important. Please stay my friend.
Being a girl is so fun. Okay, so then Archer then in return tells her that he was shot by his uncle. And that's how he lost his voice.
Tragic.
He just kind of leaves it at that. That's what happened. So I don't have my voice anymore. And she ends up staying the night. And in his room, there's a photo of his mom. And it says, "My beautiful Liz, C." And that's...
The wheels started turning.
That's
it's
it.
Like, what?
And she's like...
Who?
She's like, why would he have this that his Uncle Connor wrote on here if he shot him? That don't make no sense.
The math ain't mathin' here.
Math ain't mathin'. So, I think this was probably one of the biggest issues I had with this book.
Ready?
She has no nightmares after she confesses all of this.
Thank you. Like,
you have severe PTSD, and just because you told one person...
You told one hot boy that was real nice, like, that just cured you.
Girl, you need years of therapy. Yeah, I was like, I don't like that.
Because if that were true, wouldn't it seem that every girl that confided in a dad, Brad, or Chad would suddenly get better too?
Nah, I don't know.
Like, it seems kind of weird. Yeah, I was a little frustrated that that was part of the story and then would just get put away. And then it would come back up when she needed her to have some PTSD. She'd like just... So, yeah.
Oh,
what's
we
your
actually
name?
have nightmares.
Mia, that's my complaint to you.
That was my biggest complaint on this whole book. Mm-hmm. What the... Huh?
The fuck.
That doesn't make any sense. Let's just... So I think that was really my only complaint in this book. That didn't make any sense, but I'll just leave it be because the rest of the book was pretty good.
True.
So she goes home, lets the dog out. She comes back, and he has scissors, and he's like, I thought I could get a haircut.
The haircut scene.
And he, like, I don't even know. He... Essentially, she's giving him a haircut, and she's, like, moving around him
and
stuff.
He likes what he sees. He can't control it, and basically it's just like...
And then he says...
You need to leave!
You gotta go! You have to go now. And she's like,
okay.
Because she, like, wants to kiss him and stuff, and he's just like, you have to go.
Tension, it's too much.
You have to go right now.
As a girl, I would feel so like, what?
Again, we are never speaking again.
Yep, she gave him so many chances.
The embarrassment. I couldn't.
I don't like to be rejected, okay? I can't take, like, that many rejections.
I'm leaving town. I'm never coming back. Like, this has been...
You would have called me so fast. Come get me right now.
So many times right now. This is clearly not working out. You don't want me around. Bye. Sorry. And another thing with his hair is he's kind of always used it as like a shield.
Was hiding.
That's why it's so long and things like that. And then he ends up saying something of like, I wanted you to see me.
Which is so sweet.
And I did love that.
I
did love that. So she does leave. She's like, okay.
Fine. I'm gonna go then.
Bye. And the next day at the diner, Travis's mom comes in. Who's just a peach of a woman. And she says, essentially, like, stay away from him. He's dangerous. He's violent. You shouldn't be around him. I'm just kind of, okay.
And, like, to think you're in a small town and some hoity-toity thinks she owns the town lady just marches in and decides to tell you to stay away from some random person. You're like, and who are you?
Yeah. So there's an underlying kind of storyline of the Hale family, and they own a bunch of the town land, and they've decided that they're going to build condos or something.
Yeah, major construction. There was going to be basically all new shops, condos. They were trying to, don't
along the lakefront kind of area where she's staying. So they're going to take out all those cabins and put in a bunch of shops and things like that for the town. So Victoria is running it now, And then in theory, it should go to the oldest Hale boy,
Which would be Travis.
Connor, which would be Travis. So it'll be passed along to him at some point.
Convenient.
And he'll take it over. And it seems like it's pretty, it's coming up that he's going to be taking over the land. So they really think they're hot shit in this town. I guess small town they probably are, or they think that they are. So there's always this kind of background storyline of what is happening with the town and who the land goes to and kind of what the plan is.
Those were the stresses in town that things were ticking. Yep.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So she comes and says, essentially, stay away from him. He's dangerous. And she kind of spits back and is like,
I'll do whatever the hell I want.
I'll do what I want. Yeah, and he's actually more than a friend to me. And so you know that. Yeah. And she ends up going back to Archer's house and essentially says, did you want me to kiss you the other day? And she says, yup. And so quickly, yes, I did. And then that's when things definitely move to more of a romantic environment between them. And they kiss.
That's for sure.
A lot.
Uh-huh.
She ends up talking to Travis, and Travis invites Archer out with his friends.
I felt so like, no, this is not going to end well.
Yeah.
Even Archer knew. I just was very much like, what the hell did you think was going to come of this, Brie?
Yeah.
That's how I felt.
Well, Travis is like, oh, I've tried, blah, 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 blah. So Brie, who doesn't even really know who these people are or any history in the town or dynamics, is like, oh, yeah, this will be so good for him. And she's like really excited for Archer to go out and experience world, I guess you could say. Good old Travie takes him to a strip club, which is just so overwhelming to Archer, and he doesn't want to be there. And he's uncomfortable. He doesn't like the guy's friends. He doesn't even really like Travis, but he takes him there anyway. And I hated this part.
So cringe. And then goes out of his way to pay one of the strippers, to take him into the VIP room and basically show him everything he needs to know because he found out about Brie and Archer. And it's just so mean for Travis to go that low to try to sabotage it. Oh, yeah. And he put all that shit in his head about how, like, well, that Brie wants an experienced guy and you're not going to be able to give her what, like, she needs, and just totally messing with his side. And I was just like, oh, I was so angry. I was so angry. But then I was frustrated with Brie, too, because I'm like, this is kind of your fault. I know you didn't know that Travis was a piece of shit, but, like, you went on a date with Travis and you knew he wasn't that great of a person and you still pushed this? I need to stop blaming her.
The hopefulness of her is this is his only family. Like, this is the only family he has left. She knows that. The mom's not around. The dad's not around.
So you need to try.
Yeah, the uncle died. Like, she's really trying to push him to get to a point where he can exist in society. Instead of being an outcast, going out, doing things. He went to the diner that one day, and she was, like, so excited. So I think her intentions were pure. It just went horrifically.
Shouldn't have been Travis. Should not have been tour guide.
Yeah.
That's true.
So
unfortunately,
he goes in the back room, hangs out with the lady, and then comes out and is like, "We gotta go. Like, I'm done with this." And he is so drunk at this point, and he's also never drank. So
poor kid, man.
I know,
having a time.
He hated it. He hated the whole thing. And so Travis is like, all right, I'll take you home. And he doesn't end up taking him home. He ends up taking him to her house. And like the just A-star person that he is, he, like, guns it to make noise.
Yep,
so that way
make
Brie
as
wakes
much
up.
noise as possible.
Yeah.
It gave me a lot of flashbacks reading this. I was like, I've had relationships like this where the friends bring you home like this in this state. Isn't that great?
So he ends up making as much noise as possible, wakes Brie up. Brie comes out and she's like, Archer, what are you doing? And he's like, I don't like strip clubs. And she's like, what are you talking about? And so she essentially thinks that Archer went and cheated on her. And
that's the way Travis wanted it to be.
Yeah. And
just the way he wanted it.
And Archer doesn't know anything. So he doesn't really know.
To say, no,
that's not what happened. And she's just like, you need to go. and just heartbroken.
Which I'm a little surprised that she was like, no, just get out of here. Like, couldn't you try to be like, we'll talk about this more? It was an out of control boys' night. But they weren't together that long, so I'm putting a lot of expectations on this girl.
Well, she's thinking that he had sex with this girl in the back room.
That's true. So she's thinking it's way more
happened,
than it is.
Which is not what happened, but Archer doesn't know how to articulate that to her because he's
like,
so
no.
inexperienced. He's like, I don't know, maybe. Like,
Yeah,
maybe that is what happened. Because he's just, I don't know. So she's like, you need to go. I felt so conflicted and bad for him.
Me too.
In this moment. Because he's just so pure and so innocent. And Travis essentially just took advantage of that to ruin this relationship. And I hated it. Ugh.
I really did. That whole section was hard for me to get through because I'm like, no, kind of thing.
I'm like, he didn't, but no.
Bree, wait.
No. Yeah.
Like we could talk some
You
sense into
don't
her.
understand. And they don't talk for a while, but then a storm comes, and storms essentially make her freak
Right, she
out.
suddenly has PTSD again because there was a thunderstorm, and I guess the author needed a moment to rekindle them.
We need a moment.
Like, oh, I know. PTSD.
Yeah.
Let me just sprinkle that in there.
A little razzle dazzle.
Yeah.
So there's a storm, and she ends up seeing him just like outside. He's just sitting out there.
Oh yeah, that's what he came in. He
Can
came up
you
to her house.
imagine? Like, I understand Archer is so innocent and so pure that she didn't think anything of it. Me, as an ex, kind of in a way, you're standing outside my door and it's storming. You're actually here
What
to
are you
murder
doing?
me. Oh, no, I watch way too much true crime for that. You're here to kill me. So
911.
But she listened.
Hi, I refuse to be the next Dateline episode. Come get the creep off my porch.
Yeah, there's no way. Travis, actually
So I'm
gonna
real
need-
sorry about being a little bitchy earlier. Can you come handle this real quick, like?
But she doesn't, and
Nope.
she invites him in, and she doesn't get murdered, so I guess it was fine. So she gets puts his clothes in the dryer. She's like, here, put this towel on.
He must have been so confused. Like, first you kick me out, then you let me in and do my laundry. What do you want from me?
Yeah. And so they talk, and essentially it comes out he had gotten a lap dance, got a little too excited in this back room, and he thought that was sex, essentially.
Can you
he
imagine?
thought he did cheat on her. And she's like,
Oh.
oh.
Like,
No.
Okay.
No, that's not what happened. It's okay, you know. But he was just so distraught thinking that he
Poor
had
guy.
done it. So they make up because there's a storm. And then,
nothing else to do.
yeah. And then they have sex for the first time. And then
Oh, yeah, that
she's
was
like,
there.
she's like, now anytime that there's a storm, I'll think of you and of this traumatic thing. And I'm
There
like,
was a few of those in this book where they would have just been it's like, blah, and I'm like, yeah, that's not, would not have been my choice of words there. Like,
"Hey, I don't think I like that. But all right.
I don't like that because of this book. I'm gonna think about that every time there's a thunderstorm. I'm like, this wasn't even my life. I didn't want to think about this.
I don't think I'm going to think of that. I think I'm going to think of there's actually somebody standing outside in the rain wanting me to invite them in.
I'm gonna have to do this the next time it rains.
It's just on my Ring doorbell. Up. Susie's standing outside.
Holding my own watering can, getting myself wet.
Justin is like, what are you doing? Go home. Ezra.
Yeah.
Freak out the dog. Okay, back. We went overboard. Okay, back on the ship. So after they've made up, her friends come to visit because she's planning on going back home because they caught the guy that killed her dad. So they have to do a lineup, so she needs to go home and identify and so on and so forth. So her friends come to visit, and then she's going to drive back with them. So it turns out her breaking point, essentially, was one of her friends, Jordan, had professed his love to her.
What is it about those J-name guys? It happened to me in my life. A J-name guy that just like couldn't get it together anymore that we were friends, and I've never spoke to him since. It's like, and now Jordan,
Yeah.
bro.
Mine worked out great.
True.
My husband's name's Justin. We
Yeah.
were friends forever. So that checked out.
He's the one good J-name.
And it's a Justin. So
I know, it's a rare.
he's breaking all of these rules.
Go Tauruses, go.
Tall blonde Tauruses.
I wonder if Archer is a Taurus.
We need you guys to look up when his birthday is.
Yes.
Can you let us know? Thank
Yeah,
you.
viewers, that's your homework. Go look up Archer Hale's birthday. Let us know if he's a Taurus or not.
Give us all the zodiacs while we're at it.
Yeah, actually. And Travis, I'll bet Travis is a Virgo. Sorry, Virgos, but y'all are vindictive, lying.
I was going to say Gemini.
Good, Two-Face. Maybe that's Victoria.
Reel it back in. Reel it back in. We went overboard. Okay, so her friends come to visit.
Her friends come to visit. They gotta go find the murderer. She has to go identify it in the lineup. Very stressed. Yeah. This is gonna be the first time her and Archer are like separated again for a long time.
First he kind of finds out that Jordan had professed his love to Bree, and so there's an immediate tension of Archer is starting to really kind of be insecure in their relationship, and he even says something like, how many more men am I going to have to do this with? Like, first there was Travis, now there's Jordan.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm stunning and everybody wants me. You're right. I should just get uglier. Honey.
Yeah. But it's hard, because he's so
sweet.
He's so sweet.
He really
he doesn't, like, he just doesn't know. He doesn't understand.
He's not a bad person. He's just a dumbass.
Yeah, and I think this is kind of a breaking point of him realizing, how am I going to fit into her life? Like, me as an outcast or a loner, how am I supposed to live going to dinner with her friends?
How am I going to learn to be a part of this?
Yeah, because he's just
how do I fit in here?
Has never had that kind of interaction in so long, where he really doesn't know how to.
So sad.
Yeah, so I felt like this was kind of a crack. This was a breaking moment of, is this actually going to work, and how? Because he's getting insecure about this, but she ends up calming him down and everything's fine.
Which throughout the book, she's really good at that. She's very reassuring. She's very forgiving. Yeah. She's very understanding.
Yeah.
And she defends him to a lot of people, which is just...
Mm-hmm. And then Jordan is also at this point like, nah, I'm over it. I'm actually going to go see Sally over there. I'm going to go see what she's up to.
Yeah, I'm going to go see my chances here.
Literally. But she goes home. And her friends end up giving Archer a cell phone so they can communicate while they're gone.
That whole moment was really sweet because it was Jordan that got the cell phone.
Yeah.
So talk about a good, like, bury the hatchet. I don't,
he
she's
like
yours,
went and
bro.
saw him and was like, here, just so you can get in contact with her. And so they're texting the whole time.
Middle schoolers.
And she's all in the backseat. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I thought that was really sweet of her friends. She ends up doing what she needs to do, identifies this is 100% the guy that did it, and she ends up getting in the car and driving home that night. So she's like, I'm on the road, see y'all later, I'm going to go get my man, and Archer is trying to text her, like, let me know where you're at, but I understand you're driving, like, let me know, and he just never hears from her, and so he's like...
Losing his shit is what he's doing. Losing his shit.
And, like, freaking out that now he's going to be alone again.
Completely
That's kind
alone.
of the main thing. Like, he's had this life now, and he just feels like it's taken away from him. And so then we get a flashback on what actually happened to Archer.
That made me so upset.
Heartbreaking. So his Uncle Connor comes...
to rescue him and his mom from the abusive alcoholic father.
Yeah. And essentially we're going to be together now. So we get a feel for, obviously, his mom and his Uncle Connor are in love and have been for a long time. Connor is married to Victoria and he's like, I'm leaving her. Don't care. Which...
that part was a little wrong.
Little iffy because Travis is there. That is his son. But he's like, yep, peace out. So he tells Victoria he's going to leave. He goes, he gets Alyssa and Archer. They get in the car. They have all their stuff. Alyssa and him are like holding hands and it's such a sweet moment.
He tells her to buckle in.
Yeah. And then they get hit by a car and she flies through the windshield and is instantly dead. And the person that hit them was her husband, Marcus, the dad. And so Connor is sobbing over Alyssa, trying to make sure that Archer is okay. Archer is, like, out of the car. And there's a conflict between Marcus and Connor. And they're, like, yelling at each other. And essentially it comes out...
I think the two brothers are having a standoff on a highway.
Yeah.
over this.
Yeah. And it comes out, essentially, he says, you know that boy is mine. Like, that is my son, and you've known that this entire time. So really, his uncle is his dad. And which is such a moment, because he's like,
and
always
little Archer
loves
being so
him.
relieved.
Yeah.
Knowing that I think his words were like, I'm not part of the monster.
Yeah.
I'm not part monster. And it's like,
and then something happens. Marcus pulls a gun, and Archer gets in front of his
he
Uncle
runs
Connor
after
and is
him
like,
angrily,
don't
like,
do
don't.
that to my dad, or...
so sad.
Yeah. Then he gets shot by Marcus. Marcus shoots him and then ends up shooting Connor.
Like, as the reader, I was thinking he basically got shot, like, this way. Like, because he's a child, he was pointing
Like, down his throat?
picturing, yeah, it went down and out. So in the, like, book, I pictured Archer's character having, like, kind of, like, nothing on one side. And then he would turn and have, like, a whole bunch of
I pictured it, like, just, like, straight through his windpipe.
Okay.
That's how I pictured it.
I'm acting like he got shot with buckshot over here. Like, yeah, under here is sprayed.
Just took out the whole half of his neck. Because he says he does have a scar, but his beard covers it.
Oh, yeah, I forgot he has
So
a beard.
I've always pictured it in his windpipe.
That makes a lot more sense. Yours makes a lot more sense. Anyway, back to the point.
No. And then Marcus and Connor end up shooting each other.
Yep.
Essentially. So everybody's
Nobody
freaking
wins.
dead. A lady comes, pulls up on the scene.
And the woman that shows up first is Victoria Hale.
And Victoria had called Marcus and said he's taking her.
Oh, yeah, told
he's
her
taking
about it.
The
So
kid,
she's the
and they're
reason.
leaving.
And
Yeah.
then yelling at a child who has been shot.
Yeah.
This is all your fault.
Yeah. And then he blacks out.
Like, huh?
Yeah. So,
Just saying.
to bring it full circle,
Somebody should have cut the brake lines on that.
him
old
and
bitch's
Travis
car.
are brothers.
Yes.
But they don't, Travis doesn't know that. Archer does and has his whole life.
And that's
Or not his whole
why
life.
Victoria made sure, there's a part in the book where they talk about how he could have had his voice.
Yep.
And Archer tells Bree that Victoria was the reason I couldn't get my voice back. And that just sets Bree off even more.
Because she doesn't want people to know
the truth, that he is owed all of that.
Yeah,
land,
he's the
everything.
oldest son now.
But that bitch gets nothing, and she
Yeah.
would be real upset about that.
Yeah. So there was like a so many hour window where they could perform a surgery and he would have the potential to speak again. And she says, nope. Or she convinces Nathan to not do it.
Somebody.
Because
Yeah.
she doesn't actually get to decide. So I'm pretty sure she convinces his uncle Nathan to not go through the surgery. So essentially, Archer just never talks again.
Which is just, I can't imagine that.
Yeah.
I don't know what would be worse, honestly. Losing your hearing like they thought he did, or not being able to talk ever again.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I talk a lot.
Yeah, it's true. We would be pretty bummed
Yeah.
if I couldn't be annoying like that. Oh no. Couldn't even make all my weird noises.
After she comes back, his house is just destroyed. And she's like, what the heck happened? Her phone had died. She didn't have her charger. So she just drove home. But Archer, in the meantime, has been freaking out, thinking something happened to her, thinking that he's now alone again.
Assuming the worst.
Heartbreaking again, because like he's just come so far, and then he just thinks everything's ripped out of his hands.
Poor guy.
I hated that. So after that, everything's good. She calms him down per usual. I think at that point they profess their love for each other.
Bang a whole bunch again. That's kind of the order of events. Like,
Constantly.
they have a freak out, they have a moment, bang a whole bunch, go to sleep. One of them wakes up by themselves and
Yep.
looks for some mysterious note because the other one wrote a note and ran off to do something.
Gotta go let the dog out. Sorry.
Yeah, I like, clearly they didn't have iPhones. Whatever these phones were just too much work to just send
Yeah.
a text. So I like to think they had Nokias. Let me just flip it open.
No, kids don't flip.
Mine did.
Oh, I must have had an old.
Had like the old army just
brick.
straight.
LOL. So Anne ends up having a heart attack.
The neighbor. Oh,
And
neighbor Anne.
Bree's there, and she's like getting into the ambulance with Anne, and she sees Archer running.
Archer,
And
assuming the worst,
he
as per
heard-
usual.
Yeah, he thought something had happened to Bree because he heard the ambulance and stuff like that. And he's like visibly upset. And she's like, Joe,
It's okay.
it's okay.
Bro.
I'm going to go. I'll be back. And he's like, okay.
Oh, yeah. Anne recovers. She follows her to the hospital. Blah, blah, blah. They go
She's
home.
good. She goes back to Travis's house.
Yep. That's what it was.
Maybe, I think that's where they actually profess their love.
Maybe.
It's one of those scenes.
It's right before or after. Because I remember the hugging. I love you, I love you, I love you.
Yeah.
And they're signing it to each other.
Yeah.
Yep.
So then later, she's at work, and Archer, she can see him. But then, so she goes out to go see Archer, and Travis, like, grabs her to try and...
The memorial parade. That's what it was. It was the big memorial parade for Connor. So Travis is thinking this is, my daddy's big day.
Yeah.
And I'm the star of the show.
Yeah.
And
so he, like, grabs Bree to talk to her.
about
and
the
it's
case thing, right? Like, about, he was trying to be
Yeah.
nice. Like, if there's anything I can do to help you.
Because the guy that had killed her dad got out on bail. And so
Imagine how stressful that would feel. I wouldn't have been out.
How? How did he get out on bail? What do you mean? You just identified somebody who murdered somebody and they're going to get an out on bail?
Right. So frustrating.
I don't know about that. I don't think that would happen, but...
Maybe he had
Anyway.
some PTSD. We'll have to ask the author.
Yeah.
Like, just wanted to sprinkle that in to get it back in the story.
Did he really get out on bail? Or...
Yeah.
So he's, like, trying to talk to her, and he's, like, grabbing her arm, and Archer is across the way, and he gets pissed.
And tensions are at an all-time high that week anyway.
And so he gets mad, comes over, and then they just essentially start fighting because men. And she says, don't do this, you're brothers. And then it's like,
Imagine doing that. We're from a small town, so like if we did that in the middle of the 4th of July parade in front of that junior high, I cannot imagine the way the whole town would just whoo.
I can guarantee you, if I was with somebody and you're fighting in the street, I'm leaving. Grow up.
Very different. I'd be over here like, hit him harder.
Silly. I don't have time for that. Absolutely not. Especially like this. What are you mad? Are you for real? Like, get real. What are you punching for what? Come on.
It's cool. God.
Go get my testosterone. Okay, sorry.
I'm a man. I want to go to war.
I want a lightsaber.
So then the whole town is shooketh because she lets out the big bad secret that they're really brothers.
She's like, I'm so sorry to Archer.
Archer's pissed. He's angry a lot. Rightfully so. Yeah. He's got a lot of things to be angry about. But
he's very mad, and then he leaves, and Travis is like, what was that? What did you say?
I did like that Travis spun around to interview his mom, though, a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, well, that could be answered with a blood test pretty easy.
Yeah.
And she's like, no.
Clutching her pearls.
Yeah.
No,
oh, great heavens!
No. Archer leaves. The people at the restaurant, the nice couple, are like, go. It's fine. Go after him. So she goes, and Archer essentially leaves her a note. Big, long thing. Essentially, he needs to learn how to live in the world.
Oh, yeah. His letter pissed me the off. If some man had the audacity to write to me like, so I'm just gonna leave and maybe you'll wait around for me. I need to go experience the world and figure myself out. Like, no.
Yeah, I need to figure things out and maybe even learn a little bit more about who I can be in the world.
Okay, Peter Pan.
If I can be anybody at all. I get what you're saying.
Yep.
It made sense to me.
Yeah.
I'm like, Bree and Archer cannot continue to live like this. Archer is entirely too insecure about where he belongs in the world and how he can be with Bree. Like, this would have never
They were going
worked.
to turn toxic fast if they didn't. You're 100%
or
right.
Bree would have sacrificed her life to stay with Archer. And I think that's probably where it would have come down to.
Correct.
Is she would have just given up all these things and lived on the property with him and had a simple life, which is, some people like it. It's fine. But I don't think for Bree that would have been what she would have chosen.
True.
But I think she would have to stay with Archer. So there's no more of this weird conflict of, well, there's these men who look at you and that's a problem because I'm insecure and yada, yada, yada. So I get it.
But we don't have to agree with it.
Yeah,
okay. I get what you're saying. Like, it was important. And then I'm glad that when he went off, he was, like, trying to better himself. He really was.
Yeah.
But it was giving me Bella Swan waiting in the window vibes when it was right, how she would wait for him. I just kept the song in my head. There's a possibility.
sitting in the window with my hoodie. I more think of In the Forest, where she's just laying there in the cold night. Yes, and it was 3 months that he was gone, so that probably checks out with the Twilight reference. So he's gone for 3 months. She's at this party across the lake.
Great Gatsby style. She went to the mansion house across the lake.
She ends up meeting the owner of the house, and he's like, "You want to dance?"
Which, oh, great. Like, another man.
More problems. But she's like, "Oh, okay." Like, she's really trying to now at this point move on a little bit, but not move on in that sense, because she's very big on
trying to get out of her depressive slump.
Yeah. She's very big on, I will wait however long it takes. I'm taking care of his house. I'm going to be here when he gets back regardless. So that, like, she's never looking for another partner, but Correct. She's like trying just to live again a little bit. And good old Archie boy shows up in his tux, and she's like, and their eyes lock from across the room. And the suspenseful music starts playing.
The Gatsby boy is like, well, clearly you're taken. Deuces. Yeah, all good, my dude.
I'll go find somebody else, actually. And so she's like, you're here. And he's like, yep. I don't know. I don't actually remember what he says. But they're like, let's get out of here.
Yep. They get out, they leave, and he's driving now. Like, you know, he took his uncle's truck, so they start driving home. Mm-hmm.
And then she's like, let me out of this car. Like,
starts having her breakdown like any girl would at that point. Like, wait a second.
Which is fair. Valid. I felt like her getting in that car with him, and I get that she always knew she was going to stay with Archer. Bottom line. But, like, the forgiveness so early.
Why let them off that easy? You can't. Like,
you're not saying nothing to him?
Right.
You're just like, yeah, let's go. Sure. But then kind of reality hits.
Then she lets him have it.
And she gets out of the car and she's like, you were gone, you left. Da, 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 da. And he's like, let me just explain, get in the car, blah, blah, blah. So they have this moment. It's probably raining, realistically, because it's an intense scene, and that's what happens.
Especially if this gets made into a movie. It'll be
It's raining. It's raining. She's in a gown. Her hair is wet. Mm-hmm. She's crying a little bit.
But somehow her makeup doesn't
Her makeup
budge.
is fine. His tie is, like, loosened a little bit. One button undone. And he's like, just get in the car. Oh, we can't talk in the car. Just get in the car, Bree. Anyway. I can see it. You know what? Y'all make this into an adaptation. You guys just have us come down. We'll fly down. We'll help you out, okay?
We really will.
You'll have to remind me he can't talk, but that's okay.
I like how this will set me over the edge.
Okay, back on the boat.
Okay.
She kind of comes to her senses. Sorry. Hi-ho. Hi-ho. Okay.
We were doing...
I'm sweating.
I'm gonna cry. He, who, oh.
There she goes.
Both eyes. It's okay. We'll get through this. Okay, so they get
We're
back.
Almost there.
Yeah,
We're almost there.
We're doing so good.
So,
I told you it was a good book.
Essentially, he goes and he does all the things that he said he was going to do. He lives. He's experiencing life.
He got a job. More than any of my exes could ever do.
Like, he did all the things. What did you say?
I said more than any of my exes could ever do. Got a job in 3 months? That's fast.
Got daddy's money.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, he does all the things that he said he was going to do, and he's just feeling so much better. He feels like he has a place in this world, whether it's whether it's with Bree or not, which was important because he felt like Bree was his life.
I'm all about unhealthy and toxic over here.
Right.
Wrong.
In the past.
Yes.
In the past. We've turned a new leaf.
2024, gonna be our year.
What year did you and Eric start dating?
2021.
2021.
It shouldn't have taken me that long to answer. Sorry, honey.
Details.
Anyway. I was homeschooled, okay? I'm bad at math.
Give her a moment. She'll get it. She'll get it. I'm going to start snorting and then we're going to have a problem. Okay. Bring it back. Back in the boat. Okay. So they make up.
I was worried we weren't going to be funny enough, too. So this worked out great. Okay.
So they make up. Everything's hunky-dory.
Perfect little life now.
Yep. Well, they go to breakfast the next morning at the diner.
Oh, my God.
And everything's great. And
that's when I knew something was forking up. I was like, everything is going so well all of a sudden. Oh, no.
And, like, they're sitting there, and then all of a sudden, she stands up, and the guy that had killed her dad walks in the diner.
And
he has a gun. And there's a moment, chaos. Archer ends up standing in front of her.
And he says something to her, to the suspect. The suspect looks at Bree, and it's like, you stupid bitch, you think you're going to ruin my life? Like, my dad cut me out of the company and everything. Turns out it was this, like, really rich man's strung out son.
You ruined my life.
Yep.
You know who I am. My dad was going to hand over the company to me before you pointed your finger. Do you think I'm going to let you walk away while I lose everything?
And Bree was like, well,
Yeah. And he's standing there. He has a gun. Archer gets up, stands in front of her. And he ends up getting shot. And then Travis shows up and ends up shooting the guy.
Thank God he did his job as the cop. Like,
you do one good thing, and all of a sudden,
everybody loves
character.
You. Yeah.
This is when, cue the clip of me crying in the chair.
This is
when I started sobbing.
Completely understandable, because I was doing this, going, and then Eric comes over from watching video, and he's like, "Are you good?" With the headphones, I'm like, "No."
Yeah, I was not okay, because I was like, I really thought
they finally did the work, they got back together, and now
he's gonna die.
I thought for sure he was gone.
I thought for sure he was gone. And so there's a poem. The poem.
You thought you were going to read it?
I'm not going to read it.
Oh, okay.
Do you want me to read it out loud? Like
it was really good.
In class. I'm not doing that. There's no way. Sorry. I'm no poet.
Readers, read it. It's good.
Anyway, there's a poem, and then the first line of the next page is, the whole town gathered in honor of Archer Hale. He's
done.
Dead. He's dead. God. I was sobbing.
Stupid book.
I literally was like, I can't.
We should just pick another book. We could do another episode.
I'm sitting in the chair, holding my head. Okay. Got it. He's not freaking dead.
Surprise.
That was like the biggest fake out that I've ever had. I thought for sure that was how this was going to end.
She's read a lot of books, guys. If she says that, that's a statement.
I really did. I thought he was going to be dead, and that was going to be the end of it. She was more than likely going to be pregnant or something, and so the Archer name, she was going to pass it on. That's where I thought this was going. No.
Nope.
He's alive.
He made it.
Yeah.
That's one tough SOB to not be shot once,
literally,
but twice.
And then he just...
Both times, the shooter wasn't aiming at him either. That guy needs to get the fork away from guns.
Got bad
luck.
That's the word I'm looking for.
Strong magnetic field for those.
So he does end up living, and he ends up saying that he's going to take over the town. He's going to take the property that is owed to him. Everybody knows at this point that he's the oldest son.
Tori Hale kind of tucked her tail and got the fuck out of Dodge. She realized she lost.
Yeah. So that's really what they're gathering for, is him telling everybody that that's what's happening.
Hear ye, I rule the town.
Yeah. Well, he's like kind of funny during it, and he's has an interpreter there so he can sign, and
the people in town were signing to him.
Yeah.
So this book was really cool about showing, like, teaching people to be better for other people.
Yeah. And like a big thing in the town was he's a kid that had something horrifically bad happen to him, and that was essentially it. So he ends up taking ownership of the town, and then we get to the epilogue, and they have twin boys. which is so cute. And one of them's named Connor. I don't remember what the other one's named is. And she is pregnant.
Yep.
And she said, it's a boy, you know. And he said, that's because that's what these Hale guys have. And I was like, okay. Got it. Yeah. I'll let it slide because you're nice. Another thing. Somebody who has had a child, if I have to give birth when the power goes out and it's just me and Justin there, no. And it was so quick. It's just like her water broke, the power went out. Oh, here it comes.
Here. You're like, okay, Hallmark, sure.
Yeah. I was in labor for like 13 hours. What do you mean?
Yeah, I'm also like, so again, still nobody has a cell phone? Because I don't care what kind of storm is happening. There was no service. Oh, yeah, of course there would be. Of course.
I couldn't get a call out.
Like, you're telling me that none of her friends would come by? Like, I would get in my kayak and kayak to your house if I knew we were no power and you were having a baby. Like, are you kidding me?
That's so traumatizing. Like, to me, I get that it was like a sweet moment, and that's what the vibe was. That is traumatizing. Nope. No. And granted, it might just be because my baby was actually massive in 99th percentile
64
everything.
Pounder. I'm just kidding. No. I'm kidding, everyone.
He was really big, so maybe that's why I just think that would just be the worst case scenario. Maybe if it was an average size baby,
be different.
I don't know. I quite literally don't know. But I did not like that either.
It's stressful. No children and was stressed.
With like candlelight. Like
yeah, back stop in the day it. Here.
I was like, okay.
Switch to call the midwife? Like, are we still in the same book?
I did not. It was fun. I get what they were going for, but I was like,
a little weird. A little unnecessary.
I don't like it. But it was a girl. So they have 2 boys and a girl.
Very
happily
sweet.
ever after, tied in a bow.
Love that. I love it when it has a good ending.
I will, if it's not a happily ever after, I can guarantee you I'm going to hate the book. Literally. Throw this out the window. What the fuck was that? Yeah. So, happy ending. All in all, I gave it 4 stars.
I would give it 5.
You're going to give it 5 stars?
I love
the golden
this book.
5?
Okay, so like I'm a book person, but Kylee will always finish the book first. Kylee could probably name 5 authors before me, kind of thing. I loved this book. And
we're reading warm romance.
It was really.
I'm adding it into the
list. It was really hard for me to like finish it. I really didn't think I was a romance book person. Mm-hmm. I am. I are. Okay. This was so good. I love this book.
Susie tends to extremely lead towards thrillers and mysteries, so this is good news for everybody.
My anxiety
involved.
is never enough. I always want to add to it. With
your iced coffee.
Yeah, iced coffee, thrillers, stressful book series, lack of sleep, multiple corgis, you name it.
So, from Bree, I kind of pictured her as like an Anna Kendrick. So,
okay.
And this is more specifically the scene where she's like dropping everything and she's like talking and
she's
like,
really good at that.
You can put me out of my misery at any time. Like Anna Kendrick for me immediately. And then for my man Archer, it was Logan something.
It was somebody with nice hair. I remember you showing me. I was like, I need to pick another one.
Logan Lerman, but like longer hair. Big fan there. That kind of vibe.
Yes,
that was Archer.
You had it. Mine was Alex Pettyfer, mm-hmm. And then Emilia Clarke as Bree.
Oh, I see that.
The quirkiness, the awkwardness, the good like
great
humor,
smile,
and like the green eyes. I remember him talking about her eyes a lot in the book. Yeah. And then for Travis, John Hamm, because John Hamm plays a tool bag cop in every movie. Like, love you. I know you're not a bad person, John, but it was just too fitting for Travis.
I didn't really pick anybody out for Travis, but maybe. Do you know the show Reacher? Mm-hmm. You know that the blonde, the main guy? Yeah. Maybe like him.
Thad from Blue Mountain State. That's who that guy is. If you've watched Blue Mountain State, I had a really hard time watching Reacher because my dad was like, the show is so good and it's like the guy is amazing. And I was like, okay. And then I saw him and I was like, you're gonna be serious right now?
I can't take you seriously. So that was my fan cast.
I liked yours. I always like how different ours are every time. Like, they're very different, but they're always real like, oh, yeah, okay, I can see that.
What's interesting is typically when I read, the girl is always a blonde, which I don't understand why, but to me, it's always a blonde.
Okay, I thought I was the only one that did that. To me, they're always either jet black hair or blonde. No in between.
Yeah. I guess not really this one, though, because this one I did think she was a brunette, and Archer was definitely a brunette for me.
My dumbass wanted him to be blonde so bad for like half the book, but then I was like, no, she's definitely right. Like, he's not blonde. I can't use that person.
I think Book Talk did a great job with this one.
Yes.
So maybe we'll take some other considerations.
Most definitely.
Yeah. But that is going to be it for our first episode.
We did it! Thank you guys for watching.
Couple
Please
rabbit holes.
Subscribe, follow. I got them all.
All the things.
All the stuff.
We are on Instagram, we are on TikTok, and we are on YouTube and all audio platforms. So subscribe.
Listen, come back. We're funny. It'll only get more awkward and hilarious from here.
I can promise you I'll probably get more awkward because
if you're just listening, keep listening. If you're also watching, it's extra funny. We get to see the tears rolling down my face. For sure, we'll get those in there.
Okay, that's going to be it for us. Bye.
Bye.